All right, so we are doing a different episode today. Before we get to that, Virginia, I'm going to throw you for a loop. We're going to do the intro backwards. You're going to say the opposite lines that you normally say.
Okay.
Here you go.
Welcome to the Bowls of Life podcast. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Virginia. As we've gone through life, we've learned something important.
Life is messy. There are a lot of armchair experts out there who will try to tell you how to make life simple.
It's not. So you won't find any here. Instead, you'll find everyday people who have jumped into the mess of life and who are making an adventure of it. Threw that last line off just a little bit, but that's okay. Like I said,
good. Nobody would notice it yet.
No, but I noticed, and it bothers me a little bit on the inside, but that's okay. It's cool. Hey, we told you guys on episode 1 that we're doing a podcast because we wanted to spend time together and hanging out. But the other reason we wanted to do a podcast was to hang out with people. So we are hanging out with some really good friends of ours today. Virginia, why don't you tell us who we got?
All right, so we have Celeste and Josh Jordan with us today, some of our really good friends. And we met them a few years back when we started attending the exchange, became members, and then Tyler came on staff. So just developed a really great relationship with these people and love them so much. And we're meeting virtually tonight because kids, right? So once the kids get in bed, we got on Zoom and here we are. So super excited to hear from our friends. I think you're going to be in for a treat.
Absolutely. So why don't you guys take 10 seconds and introduce yourselves.
What's up, guys? We are the Jordans. My name is Josh. I will be the one talking in a deep voice. My wife is Celeste. She will be slightly higher pitched than me.
I've always thought I had a deeper voice, though.
Maybe not Mandy. I don't know that it's Mandy.
Okay.
But man, we are, I guess, lifetime citizens of Middle Mississippi, and we have been a part of the exchange that Virginia just referenced for the last 6.5 years. And so came in as student and worship pastors, and about 1.5 years ago made a clean transition to worship and creative is kind of my title, and then Celeste is my right hand in and just kind of the everyday of what we do in ministry related to worship at the exchange.
Cool. So worship, I get. What does a creative pastor do?
That is the asterisk at the bottom of your contract that you sign that says all other duties as deemed necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It is any graphic work, anything visual in the building, t-shirt design. It's a lot of brainstorming. I feel like a lot of my brain cells go to, hey, I have this idea. Can you help me make it creative? And I try to do my best to do that. But it's a cool outlet for me because it's a way that my brain can work creatively outside of worship and music. And so, I like graphic design. I've always had a business degree. And so branding and marketing was a part of that. And so it's kind of cool that I get to use something that I didn't necessarily think was going to be ministry related in a ministry setting. So that's what creative means to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool to think like years ago when you were getting that degree, like God knew what you were going to use it for. So I always find that to be really cool to think back on and look back on. And Celeste, tell us just a little bit about you. I know you're in on worship, right-hand woman for Josh, but you have some other things that you do.
Yeah, so I am currently working at UMC as an occupational therapist, and have been doing that as long as we've been married. Yeah. So almost coming up on 10 years. So it's a unique opportunity for me to be able to minister to people who are finding themselves in a kind of a dark season of their life, whether they've been through a stroke or a car accident or heart attack, whatever they've come into the hospital for. God's given me many, many opportunities to be able to speak to my patients in a time where there's not a lot of hope. So I've been thankful for that.
Yeah, I've always loved hearing you talk about experiences that you've had with various different patients. And just the opportunity that you do have in that season that they may be going through. And I'm sure, I know your personality and even your what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like I can imagine if I was a patient, like I'm imagining you coming in the room being like, "Hey girl, how you doing? Let's get to rolling." Like
usually I'm like, "What's up?"
Yeah, like that's what I'm imagining. I don't know how to put that into words, but
it is kind of funny because I do find that like sometimes, I guess, depending on the patient, their age, and what they've come in with, that it kind of determines how I come into the room a little bit. Like if it's a young kid, I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's up?"
Yeah.
We're the ones you've been waiting on for your, But then we come in, and then some people are like, "Oh, you're the physical terrorist that are about to make me be in extreme pain." But no, yeah, it really is. It's a cool opportunity. It's challenging sometimes because obviously you've got some pretty interesting personalities that come through. But whatever. It's still a cool opportunity to be able to minister and God use it for His glory. So thankful for it.
Yeah, and it's been a long stretch for you too. 10 years. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but then also we're parents to 3 kiddos. Piper, who's 6, and Judah, who is 5, and then Brooks, who is 2. And we always say that we have front row seats to the best show on earth, and literally it is a circus. But it is fun. It's been good times. So we love it.
I love big families, family of 5. I mean, to me, that's kind of big. I mean, I grew up in a family of 5, but just recently when y'all were talking about going on like a family walk, I just love that. I love that, like, your kids are old enough and you can go and have and do fun things together, and they're actually like the point where they're participating. So and the more they grow, the more that gets, probably more fun that gets. But thanks for sharing all that. Next, we have something for y'all.
Yes, absolutely. So now that we got a little bit of background, we want to see how you do under pressure. So we're going to do a little segment we like to call rapid fire questions that you are unprepared for.
Pew, pew, pew.
I love it. Great sound effects, babe. Virginia, do you want to go first and ask maybe Celeste a couple?
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. Celeste, you ready? First thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, gosh. I feel like I'm going to vomit. Okay.
What's your favorite book?
Ooh. Am I supposed to say the Bible?
If it's your favorite.
What about favorite book in the Bible? This is not really rapid. Sorry.
Bible. Favorite book in the Bible.
Oh, crap. Oh, can I say that?
Yes, you can. 100%.
Ephesians.
Cool.
Love it.
What's your favorite food?
It's a tie between sushi and pizza.
Ooh, good. What's your favorite restaurant?
If you cannot tell, Celeste is a thinker. She does not act well under pressure.
I want to give the best right answer. Okay, I'm gonna go with oh man, what's the Italian one? Amerigo's Italian.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, so let's see. Shower in the morning or before bed?
Oh, so it used to be in the morning, but with COVID, it's all different now.
Oh, you're like taking showers.
It's both. It's both.
Well, yeah.
It's never.
It just depends on how much. No, it is. It just depends on how much homework there is.
That's fair. Okay.
Very good point.
The kids play a factor. Okay.
All right, last one. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
Oh, NSYNC.
Ooh.
All the way.
That was the wrong answer, but thanks for playing the game.
JP.
That was good. All right, Josh, you ready?
No.
All right. Well, how about I'll throw you a softball for the first one. Favorite TV show?
The Office.
Yeah.
Correct answer. Always 100%. Your least favorite Beatle?
Can I just be a terrible fan of music and say I don't really listen to the Beatles? So I'm just gonna say Ringo.
Yeah, see, that's just
That's
the
a good
name. Like, I would say the same thing, not because I think he's the worst or anything. It just sounds like a name that you say is the worst, right?
Poor Ringo.
Poor Ringo Starr, man. Okay. Let's see. Favorite restaurant?
I like Sushi Village. I don't know
Okay.
if you guys have heard of Sushi Village, but it is an all-you-can-eat type joint, and it is bomb.
Okay, I can dig that. Do you brush your teeth in the morning and night, or just one of those times?
Dude, you about to make me tell on myself, man. So I brush my teeth in the morning. My wife gets mad at me because I don't brush them at night. I've been told by many, many dentists that that is a terrible thing, but it is a bad habit that I have.
I stand in solidarity with you if it makes you feel any better.
See,
Yeah.
I'm not that.
Yep. See, you're good. All right. Who's your favorite Jonas brother?
Oh, dude, what's the youngest one's name?
Nick,
Nick. I think it's Nick.
Curly hair. Well,
I guess.
Or the silent oldest one, like just because he
Kevin.
plays guitar and like he's just cool. Like he just kind of fills the background. I don't like Joe though.
Joe's too cool.
Okay. There you go. You know more about the Jonas brothers than I do.
I was
All
gonna
right,
say
final
I have
question.
no idea. And I'm a girl, and I don't even know their names and
Ooh,
who they
man, your
are.
wife is telling on you, bro.
Hey,
You didn't know
you
the
know
names.
what?
You just knew which one.
We all have a guilty pleasure, right?
That's true. That's true. All right, last question.
Nick.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
A woodchuck could chuck all the wood he could if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Fair enough.
Wow.
That's a good answer. I'm impressed with that answer.
I
bro.
really am.
All dropped. I did not expect that.
I didn't either.
I really thought that was going to catch you off guard.
No, that was good. That's
I
awesome.
have to say that's a verbal warm up that I do every Sunday before we lead worship.
Huh.
Is it
I
really?
just try to. No, I'm totally lying.
No. I was like, I mean, I know we got
That
warm up.
would be a good
but-
one.
Yeah,
The
that was
vocal
good.
flexibility.
Yeah, you would get those.
We could roll a Peter Piper if you want to do that. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked, and Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And where's the peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper picked?
Daggum.
mean,
Wow,
you know.
even Celeste is
You did that a lot as a
surprised.
kid.
I know. This is like I've been married to you for 10 years, and I don't think I've ever witnessed that.
Oh, the things that happen inside my brain.
Mm.
All
That's
right.
why you're good at lyrics.
Yeah.
There you go.
That and a confidence monitor. Yes.
And the confidence
Well,
monitor, yeah.
yeah.
That thing helps.
But even when we didn't have the confidence monitor.
Yeah. There you go. Cool. Well, hey, Josh, I'm gonna come back to you again. You've got 2 minutes or less. Describe Celeste to me.
All right. Man, I would say Celeste is first an amazing follower of Jesus. I get to see that up close and personal on a daily basis. She's a great wife. She's a great mom. We talked about her being an occupational therapist, and I think it fits her well because one of the things that I've always admired about Celeste is her compassion for others. It drives me to be compassionate towards other people. I love the way that she has fallen in love with God's word over the last year and a half. And it's been really cool to see how she has put forth the effort to hide God's word in her heart, and how over and over and over again, God has used those secret moments that she's put the effort into to speak into the lives of other people, whether it be and people in a Sunday worship experience moment, or it be individual conversations with different people who are choosing to open up to her, or even patients. She can't necessarily initiate a conversation about faith, but she can use what people are giving her to lead it to a conversation of faith. And God just gives her the right things at the right times. And man, over and over again, for me, it's been true. And so, man, I'm just really grateful. She is my best friend. She's my person. I proved that to her the other day. I was like, if you ever needed proof that like you are my person, I sent her a screenshot of like my call log, and like she's literally the only name. Like she's the only person that I want to talk to, just because I just want to share everything with her. So she's my best bud, and I'm grateful for her. And we're going on almost 10 years married. So.
Oh wow.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yes, I notice how much you guys talk on the phone. Josh and I share a wall between our offices. I kid you not, the only time that I ever hear Josh on the phone, he's talking to Celeste. He doesn't get on the phone for anything else. Yes.
I hate talking on the phone unless it's to my wife.
No, that's fair. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, but then Josh is the one that's like, if you want, he's not the one that's like, if you want to call me, text me. He wants to call. He's not going to text.
Yeah. I prefer to just because I can speak it and articulate it better, and I've seen the dilemma of a text message with no tone and no emotion, and so it's like I can just say it so much better than I can text it, because then I'll overthink the text. So yes, I'm a call first person for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. All
With
right.
my wife.
There you go.
Right. Okay, Celeste. 2 minutes or less. Describe Josh.
Yeah, I'm feeling the pressure of following that up. And that's one thing like I was going to share about Josh is that he is incredible with the way he can articulate, the way that he can find the right words and say them the right way to really make you feel seen and valued. And so yeah, I'm having to follow that up. Man, Josh, he's my best friend too. That's one thing that I really like is before we even like started thinking about a relationship, we were friends first for what, like a year, kind of hung out in the same circle. So it was really cool to be able to establish that first and that kind of lay the foundation of our relationship. Because I mean, let's be honest, like, the years, I mean, you looking good as you age, but mama over here, I'm feeling it. And so, what's going to last, that kind of that friendship foundation. So we love the same things. And so that's always fun. But, Josh, one of the things that I really love about him is just he's so chill, but then such a hard worker at the same time. Like, I don't know how to articulate that well, but super laid back, super flexible, but gets the job done. Incredible dad. I tell our kids over and over again, there's not many dads out there like him who will come and put down everything to talk to them and ask them about their day and get down on the floor and get creamed by our two boys and then go and put our little girl's hair up in a ponytail and a braid and paint fingernails, so it's but then too, just the way he leads out in ministry and the way he pours in to people, it's just, for him, it's not, performance on the worship side of things. It's about the heart of his team members, and that's what he's after. And he wants to connect their heart to the heart of the Father. And it's been really cool to kind of get to have a front row seat of that too for him.
Yeah, it's cool to hear y'all say those things about each other. And since we know you both so well, I'm like sitting here shaking my head the whole time because I'm like, yep, yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I see that in worship, I see that in friendship. Like, I'm seeing all the things that you guys are saying about each other. And Tyler's over here shaking his head too. So
Yep, absolutely. No, it's good. And whether you felt that way or not, you both articulated it quite well.
yes. All right.
We may have to pause for just a second.
Oh, you're good.
Our kid came in. So I don't know where our messy life interrupted that, but
no, that's okay.
I think it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah. So I have a question. Josh, I think this is more for you. So, Tyler and I are new parents, right? Our 1-year-old Luna. And we're learning as she grows and her personality comes out and she's learning the word no. And when she hears the word no, her lip pokes out really far.
It's so dramatic.
And she starts to cry.
And that's dramatic too.
And Tyler can't handle it.
I cannot.
What's your advice for this poor dad over here and his daughter and how to handle his little girl crying but needing to be disciplined.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. There is a difference in a boy and a girl because Piper is our oldest. She's our only girl, and man, she's very much Luna. Like, she is emotional. You don't have to threaten her. Like, you can literally just a stern look and she will melt. Like, she will fall apart because she's just that sensitive and wants to do the right thing. Our boys, on the other hand, they will fight you tooth and nail, and they're not going to poke their lip out. They're going to respond in a verbal way and maybe even a physical way. But Dad, what I would tell you is love that little girl in a way that she knows that no means no, but she knows that no also has a lot of grace in it too. And so that you would pull her in tight and love on her when she needs to be held, and you would also give her godly, graceful discipline when it's necessary. And, she's going to love you forever. I think either way that goes. So I don't know that helps.
That was
No,
so
that was
great
great
for both of us. I mean,
Yes.
really, I have a hard time with it too, but it's so funny because Tyler's like,
Can't take it, man.
lip.
That lip. She pokes that thing out, and it just sits there for a minute, and then she cries. And it's like, you already had me, and then you cried. Now I need to pick you up and make you stop crying. Whole ordeal. That's good stuff.
All right, so let's segue into the meat of the conversation and kind of explain what we're talking about with them and where we're going with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously worship is a part of your title, Josh. Celeste, you are integral in a lot of Josh's planning. And Virginia, you're actually a part of the worship team as well. So just wanted to talk about worship a little bit today. And I definitely want to talk about some Sunday side of what is worship and, how do we distinguish some things about it, but I also want to hear a lot about how worship can bleed over into life outside of Sunday. So maybe the first question is simply, what do you mean when you use the word worship?
I mean, I think I would say when most people use the word worship, they use it incorrectly. I think most people associate worship with maybe something they hear on the radio, but probably more intentionally with an 18 to 20 minute of a Sunday church experience. Mm-hmm. And although that is a part of worship and we call it worship, that's not really worship. As we kind of talked about it, when we said, how would we define worship? Worship is ultimately like our life in response to what Jesus did for us on a cross. And it kind of encompasses all facets. It's not just a one-time thing or a one moment thing or just in this space kind of thing. It's literally our life actively in response, always going, God, you're great because you sent the greatest gift.
Yeah, awesome. I think you're right. I think we kind of, or, society as a general, the Christian society as a general might have a very limited definition of worship, but every aspect of our life can be worship. So you mentioned like the radio, like hearing a song on the radio can be, sometimes people see that as a worship. So how do you both distinguish between just like singing a song about Jesus, but then like actually like turning that into worship? Like what is the difference there?
I'll start and then I'll let Celeste jump in, but I think it's in a similar vein that singing a song about Jesus is a tool of worship, but in and of itself, it is not worship. It's articulating what that internal feeling of truly being changed by Jesus is and being able to put words and texture to it in a way that whether you're doing it in your car, you're still connected with the people that wrote it and perform it, even through your radio. But then I think even greater in like a corporate worship setting, like when you get to put the same words and the same themes together with other people who are also walking a similar journey, and you get to sing those songs together, there's unity in that and there's strength in that. And so I think, and again, feel free to jump in, babe, but if we only defined worship as singing, then there's a large part of the population that would define themselves as not singers. And so then the question becomes, what is worship for them?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because not everybody would categorize themselves as a singer.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think something that we've kind of felt caught, and I guess this would go along somewhat with what the question is saying, but um, we felt a call maybe a year and a half ago, really, thinking about the songs that we sing, and the lyrics that go along with it. We didn't want to just sing songs that were very vague in thought and didn't really um, make the person think about things about God, instead of just saying, "Oh, I love you. Oh, you love me," kind of thing. We really what we feel called to is to help people make a heart and head connection, that hopefully the words that they're reading on the screen and that they're singing, will do its job, just kind of like when you read the word, you are being revealed, um, the character and the nature of God. And that's what we hope with the songs that we choose on Sunday, that these songs would reveal something to those that are present, whether they're in the gathering or online, and that it would make them consider Jesus and consider their life when they're singing these songs, rather than just, oh, let's just pick this song and just do this, but no, actually have a purpose to why we're singing, and let the Spirit do the job of drawing people in by the word.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to that and say, it's not just a precursor to the message. Like within the context of songs and music, like we're presenting gospel truth, or we're at least presenting an attribute or a theme of God and his character, whether that be his faithfulness or his goodness or his grace or his mercy. And I think we heard it on a podcast before that someone is more inclined to walk out of a church service and remember a tune or a chorus or a song better than they will remembering the 3 points of a sermon that they heard. And so, we take those 18 to 20 minutes that we get any given week very seriously, that hopefully someone is making the head and heart connection that Celeste was talking about and walking that out into their week.
Yeah, I think about when you guys, Celeste, you were mentioning kind of going through that season of choosing songs that were speaking the word, or singing the word, I guess. And I think about songs that you could almost put on a secular radio station, and
Right.
it would be like, oh, that's just a love song, like for their significant other. That just kind of popped into my head, because it's like, it could be really vague. It could go both ways. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but for worship, like that's probably not actually connecting head and heart like you're talking about. And you guys do a great job of choosing sets and songs that will take a message of its own. It's like you said, not a precursor, but it's like, okay, we're going through the death of Jesus, the victory on the cross, et cetera, et cetera. So I get to see that, and that's really awesome.
Yeah, so maybe with that in mind, of you're trying to take and preach a message all by itself, well, outside of the sermon, you're using the worship moments, the music to preach. So how do you go about planning that every week? What's that process kind of look like for you? What are you thinking about when you do that?
I think we have a couple of different strategies that we use, and maybe they kind of marry together. One thing that we try to do, and I really kind of picked this up from Shane Bernard and Shane Everett, Shane and Shane, They talked about when they craft a set, they're not picking 3 or 4 songs. They're trying to create one 18-minute song, one 18-minute moment. And it may be multiple songs tied together, but ultimately they're trying to communicate a theme and walk you through a story and a journey. And so we've tried to capture that idea, that we're starting at a place and we're ending at a place, and we want it to make sense, and we want it to be congruent. We want it to flow. And then I would also say that we picked up some stuff from another resource, that there's intentionality in the order in which you sing. I think as people enter into a space, especially like a Sunday worship space, like you have to create invitation, meaning like, hey, we're inviting you to join us in what we're doing, but then also vertically, like, God, we're inviting you into this space. Like, our hearts are preparing to encounter you, to really feel and receive something in this moment as we give it back. And so we try to often start with some type of an invitation. And so you'll hear that in the lyric of the song, that it's, God, we seek your presence. We desire your presence. We want you to be here. We want to see you move. We want to feel you in this place. And then often we'll go to the cross, because if we ever get away from singing about the greatest moment in human history, then we're missing it. And so we're always going to sing about the cross and tell the story of the gospel through a song. And then a lot of times you'll hear us end in a place of response. Like, what is the human response to the picture of grace and the gospel? What is our reaction to that? And so, maybe it's a song of repentance, or it's a song of reflection, or it's a song of how do we love the world around us, but trying to walk people on that journey, so that ultimately we land in a place where their hearts are open and receptive to whatever the message is going to bring that day. And so, it's helpful when we know the theme of the message, but even in situations where we may not, the Holy Spirit has been more than faithful to allow us to choose songs that reflect where the message is going to go for that week. And I think that's just, our effort to try to be intentional in the songs that we choose, and trying to create space just to listen, not just go, hey, this is a great song, but I would say this too, like we've tried to become even intentional with our team here lately. Obviously Celeste and I aren't the only vocal leaders on the team. And so trying to reach out to the other people that would lead a song on a particular weekend and just go, hey, what's God speaking to you right now? Like, if you were to lead a song this weekend, what are a few songs that you feel like the Lord is kind of leading your heart to right now? And then we'll wait to hear that information, and then we'll craft the other parts of the set around that. Because I feel like when our team has the ability to invest in the preparation of the set, their delivery in the moment is that much more pure and that much more genuine, because they're taking ownership. Like, this is what God's speaking to my heart, that I want to be an overflow in our worship expression.
Yeah, I would say too, one of the cool parts about getting the privilege of being married to Josh is that he allows space for me to co-lead with him. And so in moments where he and I are co-leading together on a Sunday, we will get to sit down and we'll just say, God, what is it that you're speaking to us? But most importantly, what do you want to say to the people that are going to be present there? And, we always don't want to, again, just come with a set just to say, okay, we've got a set and it's some really good, solid songs. But it's like, no, God, what do you really want to say to these people? And like, even some moments, like, we're thinking about who's going to be there, some individuals that we know personally, and we know what they're currently walking through. We'll just sit and we'll just talk and we'll say, and we'll just go to God's word. And I know here recently we did a set, and it had a lot to do with just the current cultural moment and just kind of the anxiety and the pressure that's coming along with that. Like, we just really like, man, let's speak to this cultural moment in this set, and really just offer some encouragement to our family that will be present. So it's been cool to make sets together and be able to really try to bring the room in really close to let others know kind of what we're praying for them and what we want them to walk away with.
Yeah, being on the team, I see all this like firsthand that you guys are talking about. And I think what's really cool, and I kind of want y'all to hit on this just a little bit, not, an unplanned question here, but Josh, you have a line, we care more about, and I hope I don't get it wrong.
Oh, get it right. You better get it right.
We care more about who you are than what you do.
Correct. Look
Okay.
at you. I applaud you.
I obviously have a very bad memory, but that one's been a good one this year. So can you just talk on that a little bit and what you mean for that, and like in the team aspect, and what your expectations are for the team coming forth, on a Sunday to lead out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of go back a little bit and just give some background to that. I mean, really, probably about a little over a year and a half ago, the beginning of 2019. I mean, I'll just be honest and say there have been many, many moments and many, I mean, probably beyond moments, seasons where I just got it wrong. Like I had my focus in the wrong place. It was comparison to other people, or it was trying to reproduce something that I saw in a YouTube video or something like that, where I was putting the wrong expectations on myself, and then therefore I was putting the wrong expectations on my team. And it did at some level become performance based. It became this product that we could put on a stage, and how good could we make it look, and how good could we make it sound. And probably about a little over a year and a half ago, beginning of 2019, the Cody Carnes song "Nothing Else" really just kind of struck me like right in the center of my heart, and just like put everything to just an abrupt stop, and was like, hey, let's realign to what really matters. And ultimately what that is the heart of the people that, my role as pastor, I'm called to shepherd my team. And yes, I shepherd them in their craft and in their level of talent and their ability and the gifting that they choose to use for the church. But bigger than that, as a pastor, I'm called to shepherd their heart. And through conversations that Celeste and I were having with different team members, and we were just recognizing that there was like a real lack of authentic personal pursuit of relationship with Jesus. And so what we said was, I'll say this, that, there is this pressure in church culture, especially in the planning center era, that like you've got to get a green check mark so that you can get the right people in the right places so that you can accomplish the task that you need to do. And so where that phrase came in was, who you are is more important than what you do. Is I wanted people to feel value beyond the green check mark that they gave and whatever performance they put in on a Sunday. That our desire was to shepherd their hearts well. And what we understood was, when we shepherded our team towards authentic relationship with Jesus personally, then out of the overflow of a healthy personal relationship, then our church would benefit corporately, meaning that we would begin to see the benefits of authentic, heartfelt worship versus just people going through the motions, accomplishing the tasks that they were given. And so, I think it's been really cool to watch that growth happen in our team. But I'll just be honest and say, like, I think where it's happened the most, obviously it's most visible because we're seeing it in each other, but like just creating that space to go, let's always keep the main thing. And yes, we keep a high bar of excellence, and yes, we try to produce at a high level in the moment of a Sunday experience, but the hard work is happening behind the scenes to create space for authentic relationship with Jesus. And it's from that overflow that, I lead my family well, and I lead, my team well, and ultimately I'm able to lead our church well. Same thing for Celeste. And I believe it's happening now, same thing in our team members, that they're coming better prepared. They're coming with more ownership of the moment. It's not just about getting it right, but they're spending time in that secret place of relationship with the Lord and intentional preparation, that it really becomes an overflow of the heart in the Sunday experience. And I can feel that tangibly, and I feel like through some feedback I've gotten from our body that the body can feel that too. And so that's where my heart is when I say who you are is more important than what you do.
Love it. That's great. I've been able to sit back and watch that as a bit of an observer, but somebody who kind of knew a bit of that was going on. And I agree, man. Like I've seen that growth in your team as that the desire not just to be on stage to do a set, but man, that desire to grow in that relationship with God individually, so that as you're leading people, you know where you're leading them to, and not just you guys, but the worship team as a whole. And so it's been awesome to watch. Well, I'm loving hearing your heart behind this, loving hearing about worship. And so I want to hear some more about how worship bleeds over into everyday life right after we take this quick break. Cool. Well, we're going to jump back into it then. Celeste, I want to hear from you a little bit on this one. What does worship look like outside of a Sunday morning gathering? I know Josh, he thinks about it during the week because that's part of his role, but you live it just as a believer. So I want to hear what worship looks like for you outside of Sundays.
Yeah, so for me, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, worship is a lifestyle. So basically, it's just a response back to God for what He's done. So that's with anything, that's with any aspect of life. So, I'm a firm believer in getting up early in the morning and giving God the first fruit of your day. So spending time, with God, with the Word, I feel like is probably one of our greatest acts of worship. Because let's be honest, like there's so many distractions and there's so much noise around us right now to really make time to stop and be still before God is so difficult. So it really does take devotion and a love to stop what you're doing and to get up early and give God the first fruit of your day. But man, when you do, it just really it does set the pace for your day. So, when I've, that's kind of one thing that I've done is make sure, and then Josh is incredible. Like he makes sure that happens, for me. I'm so thankful for that. You know, I'm a podcaster, so not like I've got my own podcast, but I'm a podcast junkie, I guess I should say. So I love listening to podcasts. One of my favorite is Knowing Faith, and it has some incredible teachers on there that really try to bridge the pulpit to the layperson, and so they really teach a lot on theology and doctrine, and make it digestible for just the common person. And it's been really beneficial in my understanding on how to approach the word and how to apply that. And really, truly, as I've gained knowledge of the word, it has caused a deeper worship for God in my life. It's just, there's so much treasure in the word that you can mine for a lifetime and never plumb the depths of who God is. So I've been enjoying podcasts, and then something here lately I've been doing is listening to the Psalms. And I think maybe from an aspect of just the current moment that we're going through, I feel like the Psalms is it gives us an incredible language to be able to express some things, and maybe some kind of deep, ugly things. I don't know if you've ever gotten deep in the Psalms, but man, there's some interesting way to describe their feelings. I've heard it say that it's the anatomy of the soul. And so I've really been enjoying listening to Psalms. Crossway has put out a podcast. It's like 30 Days in the Psalms. And so I've, I've had some really good, interesting times with God, just listening through that, and have actually gotten a language for myself to be able to pray and pour out to God Currently, especially in 2020 with having to navigate all of the things that have been thrown our way. Yeah, that's been super helpful. But yeah, I guess that's kind of what I would consider worship outside of a Sunday.
I want to piggyback off of that with you, Celeste, and we, saying that as Josh, it's his career, to be thinking about worship on a daily basis, really. But for you, I want you to just like compare maybe more of a season than a day. Let's say compare a season where maybe you weren't giving your first fruits to the Lord. The first of the day, you're not worshiping God on your on personal time. Not assuming that that's ever happened for you, but this is real life. So compare a time where maybe worship wasn't happening in your personal walk to now that you are doing that on a regular basis. And I want you to even like what does it look like as an occupational therapist, as a person in the secular world? Like, how does that affect your day? Because you mentioned earlier, like having opportunities to speak life and truth into your patients. So just kind of, I don't know, just talk about like the difference of how giving your time in worship actually affects your full day.
Oh yeah. I've definitely had a season where I was not giving God the first fruit of my day. In that season, looking back at it, I was trying to do things in my own strength and trying to uphold my quote unquote kingdom, and quickly realized that I was never meant to do that. As much as I fought to be quote unquote God, in my kingdom, in trying to be 100% at being wife and being mom and being occupational therapist and being friend, and the list of roles goes on and on and on. I really got to a place, a very dark place in my life, and greatly affected my decisions, greatly affected my interaction with others and with my family. But it was because I did not have the truth of God present right there in front of me, and I was looking to handle all of those things in my own strength and in the wisdom of what I thought would be right, and what I've heard other people say, instead of going to the Bible for firsthand knowledge of how to, handle these things. And really it was just to be still and just to, allow God to be God of my kingdom and stop rivaling him for control. But I didn't know that. And I guess, growing up, I felt this need to handle my life and my roles and trudge through. And if I felt, if I felt any kind of feelings that I needed to push those down and continue to trudge on, well, I quickly saw where that got me. And doing things that way. And it's, man, I've never been so empty and so ashamed. There's a lot of things that came out of that brought guilt and shame. And I'm just so thankful, God opening my eyes to what I was really doing and how sinful I was being. And, it's almost kind of like, when you see your kid, I know Luna is not quite there yet, but when you see your kid trying to do something, often they're like, oh, I got this, I can do this, let me do it. And it's just like, I can't imagine God doing that with me during that time. Like, if you would just stop and if you would just sit and rest and know that I'm sovereign and that you were never meant to be 100% at all of these things, if you would just stop and rest in that, like, I promise that I will carry you through. And yeah, there's going to be bad times still, but I will walk with you hand in hand, and I'll, carry you through that. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference in when you're not present in the Word and present with God.
And I'll speak just briefly to like the flip side of that. I mean, personal worship is paramount, and probably one of the pitfalls that I could step into and have before is because worship is my job. I eliminate personal worship because I'm just pursuing whatever I need to accomplish for the next week, or, make sure I get those interactions in that I need to have. And I'll just be honest and say there was definitely a season early on as I was trying to figure out ministry, but also seeing great success in ministry, that I allowed ministry to become almost a mistress for me, where it was like, hey, this is my focus. And I even remember some really dumb comments I made to my wife about, hey, you're first, but it may not look like it all the time. And then like in hindsight, it's like, that's so stupid. Like, why would you ever even say that? But, it's like, well, ministry is a good thing, right? But if I'm not careful, I'm gonna try to find my fulfillment in this role that I have, but ultimately my primary role is personal follower of Jesus. But the greatest legacy that I will leave is the husband I was and the father I was, and that happens first in my home, and then it extends itself out into a church family. And so, it's been a really good, like, honestly, like the last year for us, for sure, of just really making sure that like we're doing a good job of personal growth and discipleship, not just accomplishing the tasks that we need to do because ministry is part of our life. And just seeing a lot of fruit out of that. And so just hard seasons are good things because if you use them correctly, you can grow from them and learn.
Yeah. And I would say too, kind of answer one of the things that you said, when you're in the Word, it's kind of like you may not connect or be in a moment where that word is really speaking directly to you, but it's like you do the work now and you store it up so that maybe in the future you come to this experience where you do have something to say and something to bring. Because you've done the work beforehand. I know as an occupational therapist, like what you were talking about, Virginia, where, I had a moment of studying something that I put in the storehouse and had a patient walk through something and say something. And quickly the Holy Spirit reminded me, hey, remember this truth you learned. Go to the storehouse and bring it out. This person is in famine. You need to feed them with this truth that I gave you. And so you can't do that if you're not actively engaging with the Word. But man, have I seen it work in someone's life? It's powerful to change man's heart and to bring life to a dead soul. But again, you're not able to do that if you're not feeding your spirit. And constantly turning up the volume of the Spirit in your life.
Oh, that's good. Something I heard, I don't even remember where, it was probably on a podcast. Somebody was talking about how much we have to do in a day. And like as a checklist person, I've got a checklist I need to accomplish. And this literally happened to me this week where it was like 4:00 and one of the other pastors walked by my office door and I was literally reading what I was supposed to be reading from scripture that day. It's 4 p.m. And he goes, don't just have the Bible out so people think you look holy all the time. I turned and looked at him. No, it's because I prioritized everything else today. And so I'm just now getting to what I should have done first thing this morning. And so anyway, what I heard on the podcast was this statement that, we've got all this stuff that we need to accomplish in the day and there's not enough time to get it done. And so the most trusting and worshipful thing you can do is look in God and go, 1, you're more important than all the things I have to do. And 2, if those things are important, you're going to make a way for me to get them done today.
Yeah.
Well, I think we forget. Like we forget that he doesn't need us.
Right.
And I think we make ourselves so important. Like, whatever that task is, because I mean, obviously we're like office buddies, and so like there's a ton of tasks that we have to do, but whether those tasks get done or not, God is sovereign, and he's in control, and he's going to do what he wants to do because he's been doing that since the beginning of time, and he's not going to stop. And I think sometimes we just got to go, yes, it's important on our little small-minded priority list, but in the grand scheme of things, man, God is God. He's faithful. And I think we just got to stop thinking we're so important to the process sometimes.
That's so real. Goodness.
Yeah, and like also that it's like a choice to be a part of God's will and his story for the world. Or we could be a part of that, or we can just do our own thing. Like that really, I see that very evident. Like you can be a part of God's will if you want to, or you can just sit back and watch somebody else.
It's like whose strength is better, his or ours? Like we can accomplish all our tasks in our own strength and be just drained and demoralized at the end of the day, or we can trust in his and lean on that. And I mean, it's a totally different outcome.
That's so real. All right. Well, tell me about this family of 5 and how you guys make worship a part of your family life.
Well, we what was it this year that we started? Yeah. So we started this rhythm this year where we've designated one night a week. I think it came out of a frustration that we're just constantly on the go. He and I both work full time, and the kids go to school and daycare. And so we just have this very small window of when we get to actually be together. And so we designated one night a week for what we call family night. And basically we just sit down, have a meal together at the table. I grew up not eating at a table. We sat down in front of a TV and had a meal, or we were at the ball fields, or just not sitting down talking to each other basically. So we sit down at the table and we let either Piper or Judah pick the meal for the week, and we just ask them about their day. Tell us about it. What was cool? What was your favorite part? Was there something that made you sad? Was there something that made you anxious? And then we usually either follow up with, we've gone through different books about big questions about God, or right now currently we're just walking through Passion City Church. They're putting out some really good content with COVID on their YouTube channel, and we've just been kind of walking through that with them. But I guess one of the cool things about it is like the kids expect it. They know that it's coming and they look forward to it. And so if we kind of forget about it, they're reminding, not that we forget about it, but if we've not said anything, like tomorrow night's family night, they're excited about it. And it's been cool to see that kind of be a rhythm for us. I don't know if you want to say anything else to that.
Yeah. So family night's been awesome, but I would maybe expand the question just kind of into like our rhythm as a family of 5 in ministry.
Yep.
We've tried to like be intentional that it's not like mommy and daddy do a job on Sunday and you just kind of do your thing, but like ministry and life are not separate. It's kind of one big beautiful mess. And our kids, it's when we lead on Sunday mornings, it's early mornings for them and it's long days at church for them. But we try to help them keep the same perspective that we have, is like, as you sacrifice to be there early with us and to spend time there, like you're helping mommy and daddy be able to invest in other people. You're helping us be able to serve our church and ultimately serve God. And so in your sacrifice, you're doing that too. And so just really just bringing them into the journey with us. It's like everybody's on the same boat. And so we're not leaving somebody behind to try to catch up and swim. It's like, hey, like this is what God's called us to in life. And so, at one point it was 2, and then it became 3, and then it became 4, and then it became 5. But everybody, I think our kids have been so gracious.
Yeah, and I don't, they don't know any different
Yeah.
for them. So it's not, thankfully, like they've not been like, oh, I don't want to go to the church. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's actually there's a
Yeah.
legitimate excitement in them. Like they love the building. They love the people that
Mhm.
are connected to our church family. They love interactions that they get to have on a Sunday. But at the same time, like we're intentional that mommy and daddy are never too busy in like even a Sunday moment, like the moment that quote unquote church is over, our gathering is over, and my kids run through the back door of the gathering space and say, Daddy, I'm daddy. I'm not worship pastor Josh anymore. Like I'm daddy. And so I'm going to hit my knees and I'm going to lift them up, and they're going to help me, finish out my task for the rest of the day. But like, we're going to do it together.
Mhm.
And so, making them a part of the process, I think hopefully at a young age is instilling in them that like, there is a heart of service, that a believer should have. There is a heart to lead and love others that a believer should have. And so, right now, we're in the season of trying to really instill a head knowledge in them and an understanding of, basic Bible things and scripture and stuff like that. But ultimately, we pray that one day the head and the heart will connect, and they'll make that decision to be a believer on their own.
Okay, I found this on the web for
Sorry.
Siri
decided I was going to talk to her for a second.
Siri wanted to say something.
But yeah, just that, we're just setting the groundwork right now. And like Celeste said, they don't know any different. And they're just a part of our ministry because it's ultimately a Jordan family ministry.
Yeah. And I think too, I know I talked about we have a family night, and, I would never want someone to think, oh, we got to do this one night where we all sit around and kumbaya. Like that works for our context. What we encourage is that everyone kind of figure out what works for their family. But I think probably one of the most fruitful ways that we get to worship, together as family is just doing it as we go. We have worship music on while we're in the car, and they'll ask us a question about one of the lyrics, and so we'll get to talk to them about it. When we go on our walks, like we talked about earlier, we'll try and find a way to incorporate creation into conversation, or we'll throw a question at them. I do that a lot when I'm in the car rider line with them. I'll just throw out a question and see what they say. Our church has offered a cool resource with the Parent Queue. It's an incredible app that kind of gives us some talking points to talk about either at bedtime or in the morning, or at supper time. So I think the most fruitful way we've seen things is just kind of as you go, but then also to live our life on display for them. And obviously it's not to get, accolades from them, because they don't, I don't know that they're going to give that to us at their age, but it's like, if I'm up early, I may linger a little bit longer knowing my kids are about to wake up so that they can walk in and see that I am reading the Bible or that I am praying. Because, what I've heard before from others is that they take that into consideration and they think, well, if it's important to mom or if it's important to dad, then maybe it should be important to me. And I mean, we've had a moment before where Josh and I was up early reading, and Judah walked in, at like 5:45 in the morning. And, what does he do? He goes and grabs his Bible and sits down beside Josh. And so it was just a cool picture that, more is caught than taught. And so just living your life out in front of them is one of the biggest ways that you can worship as a family.
I love that. So my biggest question, I have a million thoughts and questions from all of that, but my biggest one is probably a statement like family night every week goes off without a hitch. No one's ever angry or upset at it. And your kids, they spit deep theological truth during those teaching moments every time, right?
Dude, absolutely. Man, it is the perfect picture of the perfect family in the perfect moment.
There you go.
No, it is absolutely not that.
It's completely
Yes. So whatever visual picture that people who are listening to this podcast might have of family night, just like throw a bucket of
Throw it
paint
away.
and garbage on it, and then that's what it actually looks and feels like. Because I mean, like, just to be honest, like we walk away oftentimes going, man, that was super frustrating. I don't know that they ever actually got anything out of what we said. So and so didn't pay attention at all.
Yeah, and I think I said sit down, be quiet more than I said anything from the word.
Yeah, no, 100%. And what we're learning is, especially at the age that our kids are right now, it is the consistency of it that matters most.
Yeah.
Because like Celeste said, like they're looking forward to that night, and our role in that night is to point them in the direction of some type of biblical truth. It doesn't mean that they're going to fully digest it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have to ask Judah, for example, 14 times, what did we just talk about? Because he totally zoned out and he didn't really care about the content of the moment. The hope is that at some point in the rhythm of the consistency, that the head and the heart connect, and it truly does become a desire, not just for family togetherness, but it becomes a desire to truly know the deeper things of the Lord. And our hope is that one day, you know, when they have kids, that they want to do something similar because they think fondly of these moments that we're experiencing right now. And as frustrating as it is for us when it doesn't go the way that we had quote unquote planned that it should, ultimately the end goal is that they would walk away going, we felt valued, we felt heard, we felt cared for. And because we felt those things, we now want to instill those things in our family.
I love that so much. I just love the family night. I love what you guys have said on this whole podcast. And, you know, people say it all the time, and you guys say it, they learn first in the family. You know, they learn first from home than they do from their, you know, little life and kid life teachers who are great. But they're going to learn first from you as their parents. And when you guys started the family night, I remember hearing Celeste talk about it, and it almost was like a duh moment for me, like, of course, like this is what families should be doing in the church. And so I just think it's a cool thing. And when little Luna gets a little bit older, I think that's a great idea for us as well. I try to tell her things. This is something I've been trying to do with her on the way home from picking her up from daycare, talking about worship. Something really cool happened the other day, and I was like, okay, I need to tell Luna about this. She has no clue what I'm saying, okay?
Nope.
But I was like, let me get in the habit of telling my child what God is doing in my life and like praising him for it. And so that was something that it's kind of awkward. It's kind of weird, but if I go ahead and get in the habit, by the time she's understanding better, you know, she'll start to see God working in her family right off the bat. So anyways, it's just cool. The kids get it first from their parents.
That's one thing that we've adopted is that, you know, the family night for us is what we consider like a community group, like a life group. And it's like, this should be the ultimate life group. You know, where we're getting together and we are fellowshipping and over food, and then we're, you know, talking about God's word, but then like we want to give them this place, have a safe place to fail, because we would rather them fail in our house and let us help them coach and kind of coach them through that than just, you know, when they leave our house, you know, good luck. You know, we want to go ahead and have that here so we can help them and point them to the truth. And so that's what we're hoping kind of develops out of this.
Yeah, so much good wisdom that you guys have just been spitting fire over and over again throughout this episode. So, you know, I think at the beginning, maybe some people read the title of the podcast. They heard us saying we're going to talk about worship, and they thought we were just going to talk about music the whole time. But worship is so much more than singing a song about Jesus. And you guys brought that home for us and for our listeners. So let's wrap it up. What is something messy in your life that you are loving right now? And Josh, we'll start with you.
Well, I kind of already answered this question, and you guys kicked these questions earlier, but I mean, it really is family night. Like it's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess. Like it really is something special that I believe in years to come, like we'll look back and go, man, I'm so glad that we started that rhythm. Because it really is a safe space for us to, I mean, have spiritual community, celebrate, mourn when we need to mourn. But man, just take time to show love and value and care to our family. And just show it as a priority. I mean, I think for Celeste and I together, for us to be able to stop in the busyness of our individual lives and go, hey, like we're going to focus on each other and our kids, and we're going to take this moment, and it's really a non-negotiable. But I mean, just to reiterate, like it really is, like it is the most frustrating night and yet the most rewarding night of our week. And I'm grateful that we have it. I'm grateful that we started that rhythm, and I really hope that it continues to grow. I mean, I think our kids are learning along the way, whether they display that or show that or not. And I really think that they're doing the work of hiding God's word in their heart. And we've been able to do that through some scripture memorization and some stuff that we've done along the way, and even got to be creative in our own right in that, like write little ditties for little verses in the Bible so that they can remember them. And so, we're sitting up at 11:30 at night, sometimes writing a little verse for a song that we're going to do on family night. But it's a beautiful mess, and I'm glad we get to have that rhythm.
That's so good. Celeste, how about you? Something messy in life that you're loving?
Oh man, there's an exhaustive list. Yeah, I'll be honest and say, like, the first thing was like that drawer that everybody has, that drawer, that junk drawer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that thing is a mess, but we've got many of those. Well, we got like 2 of those and a cabinet of some junk, of some mess, but it's fun to go through those and kind of see like old projects and old pictures. And,
obviously all unfinished, but they're in the drawer.
But I guess I would say, man, the year 2020, it is a hot freaking mess.
So real.
Like, I want a refund from my planner 2020. Because it's, I mean, you almost want to cancel it. But I will say I am thankful for it. I can't go into a lot of detail about some things that God is doing, but, I am thankful for it because I really feel like this has been a year where He has gotten into the mess of my heart and has really kind of torn away and stripped away some things that I've kept from Him. And He is doing an incredible work in me, even though it's been hard and there's been moments of anxiety. There's been moments of where I couldn't wait until the morning came because the night was so bad. It's been a beautiful journey, and I'm excited to see with expectation what's going to come out of it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your evening to hang out with us, to share about not only what worship is on Sundays, but more importantly, what it is in everyday life and the heart that is in worship. Because I think that's probably one of the deepest truths in everything I've heard from you guys tonight, is that it comes down to what's the heart going on in, honestly, all the things you're doing. And so thank you for spending time doing that. I'm sure you guys will make your way back onto the podcast some point in the future, and we'll talk plenty of other things. Thanks for being our first ever guest on doing an interview with us. It was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the process a bit as well. For everybody that is listening, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Make sure you give us a rating and a review wherever you listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts included. You can head to anchor.fm/bowlsoflife to drop us a message and tell us what's messy in your life, and you may find yourself on a podcast episode in the future. Thanks for hanging out with us on this journey, and we'll see you again soon.
All right, bye.